up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
We're up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Hurricane Helene.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday afternoon. The remainder of the day, some sun and 86 with a light breeze out of the west at 6 miles per hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies and a low near 73. Tomorrow, wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, sunny and a high around 86. For Thursday, a variety of some sun and sprinkles and a high of 85. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I'm Ed Horrell, author of The Kindness Revolution. I just spoke to an employee of a company that I do business with. During the conversation, the employee made it clear that they didn't like their company or their boss. They also made it clear that they didn't give their best efforts because of their displeasure, and they were saving their best for their ideal job. Well, I've got a tip for them. If you want the ideal job, the best way to get it is to do your best on your current job. You're going to get discovered. I can't tell you how many employees I've hired or recommended over the years as a result of observing them at their current position. Employers are always, or should be, watching competitors or other companies for their next hire. Or possibly someone in your current organization will see your efforts and want you for their team. In this regard, we're like actors or athletes. To get discovered, we need to be doing the best we can right now. To learn more, check us out at thekindnessrevolution.net.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
And that's out of the ballpark.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Get ready.
Deep center field and heading for the horizon.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Onion pickles, onions pickles.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Way back
ESPN
Northwest Florida.
What is going on, Northwest Florida? You're now tuned in to the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Ricks, and we are the official station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And the Braves did win the second half of that doubleheader yesterday, 3-0. So with that being said, they're going to be starting their playoff run tonight. I don't know if it'll be a run or a walk. Maybe we can get a jog out of it.
Maybe a crawl.
Dude, my goodness, that game.
Pitching's not looking good.
No, the coverage will start tonight at 6:20, so you get 20 minutes of Paul Feinbaum after the Afternoon Underdogs, and then we'll shoot you over there to Atlanta, to San Diego rather, and then coverage for the game, first pitch for the game rather, will be at 7:38. But yeah, Chris Sale, which we were kind of wondering, is he injured or are we just kind of saving him for the playoffs, did not end up making the wild card roster, the playoff roster for the Braves. And with that being said, A.J. Smith-Shawver, who's been injured. He's a rookie. He's been injured most of the year and is going to be making his second start this year. I don't know how I feel about that.
I was going to say, how do you feel about that?
I do know how I feel about it.
It's got to be one of those things like a Brave fan. You're happy to be there, right? And then just like whatever happens type deal, or?
Yes, that's what us making the playoffs is a blessing. I don't think it's a blessing in disguise like what we're seeing right now out of the Detroit Tigers, who are taking care of business against the Houston Astros. They're in the bottom of the 8th right now, and Detroit is up 3-0. How do I feel about A.J. Smith-Shawver getting the start? Is there no one else we could turn to right here?
Well, I mean,
how important is the first game in a best-of-3 series?
Well, this goes back to what I said last week. Remember when you guys started Schwellenbach, and I thought maybe you guys should go with Sailor Freed?
Yeah.
I mean, the only way you can win or to sweep the series is to win game one, right?
Yeah.
And you were throwing out your most questionable dude of the three out there. So to me, it was kind of, head scratcher, right? Well, now you see what happened. I mean, things being what they are, I don't want any butterfly effect and all that, but you think they should have started maybe one of those guys instead of Schwellenbach?
Well, Sale obviously was injured, so there is that.
Was he injured way back then, though, a week ago, though? That's what I was getting at. You know what I mean? Had he started...
had to been, though, because has he started since then, though?
He hasn't, but they also had the weather and everything, and there hasn't really been any games. And then, I thought maybe they were trying to set up their pitching, or, I guess it was a head scratcher. I wouldn't have done it the way they done it.
Well, Schwellenbach ended up being if they ride his hand a little bit longer, they could have swept, and it would be the Diamondbacks in the playoffs, maybe, and the Braves would be the 5 seed. They'd be playing the Milwaukee Brewers, which they have a better history against the Milwaukee Brewers than they do. I'm not going to say history against the Padres, but as far as this season goes, I like our chances against the Brewers, who are a higher seed than what the San Diego Padres are.
How about this? How crazy would it have been if, the Diamondbacks would have fell ass backwards in the playoffs again this year like they did last season? Because they only get in last year because of a boneheaded play, basically.
So, and yesterday would have been a boneheaded loss, I guess, right?
In a roundabout way. But yeah, they've been in 2 years in a row. They would have kind of got in, falling back on their heels, And
well, yesterday was a boneheaded loss, though, right? By the Atlanta Braves in Game 1. I mean, I wasn't able to witness it, but from the texts that I received, from the updates that I've seen from other people, it's one of those situations. But you can't guarantee, at the end of the day, you can't guarantee that Schwellenbach goes another inning or two and continues to shut the Mets down.
That's correct.
So it's one of those what if Wednesdays, or...
Well, and you guys are giving Snit all this credit all year long, right? And he's the one that made the call. So, I mean, come on now.
There you go.
What side are you going to pick?
Come at us then. Come at us, bro. I agree with that, though. That is that's a perspective that I haven't heard yet. And we are going to have Sam Peebles on the line with us at 5:40. Your Minute with Max coming up next at 4:20. And then we've got Tyler's Takes at 5 o'clock. Sam Peebles again at 5:40, host of the Braves Dugout podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, he has a significant guest that's going to be on the podcast with him this Thursday. So when he drops that, make sure that you are tuned in for that one.
It will not be Pete Rose.
It will not be Pete Rose.
R.I.P.
Well, I guess we'll head in that direction. Just make sure that you guys are listening to the game tonight right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. you're a big Phillies fan. You actually were able to witness Charlie Hustle play the game of baseball, the beautiful game of baseball. Most would say, I think all would say, as far as playing the game, played it the right way.
The way it's supposed to be played.
The way it's supposed to be played. Give us your thoughts here on the passing of 83-year-old Pete Rose.
It was a sad moment last night, actually. I didn't think I was going to get, I don't want to say upset or as upset as I did. It wasn't like I cried or anything. I did pour myself out a drink, had a little beverage, and just, it was a guy that, besides of Mike Schmidt, I mean, he's like the all-time like Philadelphia Philly. I don't care probably whatever era you might have grown up in. He's probably that dude, But outside of him and Steve Carlton, Tug McGraw, Pete Rose is right up there. And the only reason why I throw him maybe fourth on that list is he's not an OG Philly. He came in like at the end of the 70s when the Phillies were pretty good. They needed like some help to kind of get over that bump, and he was that guy, that missing piece, maybe, bringing him in, the way he played the game. A lot of people maybe followed his lead. I don't know. I was only 3 years old when they won back in 1980, so I really can't speak a whole lot on that. I just know it was a big moment, for the city and everything. And, like just a guy like, we just said, played the game the right way, 110%, no matter if it was at practice, if it was during a game, hell, if it was an all-star game, he'll truck the catcher and he'll, go for the win, head first sliding and everything. So, man, he's you use the term nowadays, him or himmy. That's an OG him or OG himmy.
A Himothy, if you will. I love it, man. Also, Dikembe Mutombo passing away yesterday at the age of 58 years old.
Chris Christopherson's an actor, a guy that was like a military dude. I think he was like either like a SEAL or like a Ranger or something like that. Did music too. He was a big name guy from back in the day. He died. It's like a lot of big names, man, the last couple of days.
Well, with like Pete Rose and not necessarily Dikembe Mutombo, 58, I believe he was dealing with cancer.
Brain cancer, yeah.
Yeah, brain cancer. So, but there was another one I saw from Jim Brandt on Facebook, 84 years old, John Amos.
Oh, yeah, actor, yeah.
So I don't know if it was Amos or Amos.
That depends on who you are, but he was coming to America. He was Eddie Murphy's dad.
Okay, all right, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was the guy had like the lion sash that was on his shoulder with the lion head. That was like taxidermist or whatever. John Amos was pretty big actor, been around for a long time.
Well, let's get. Dikembe Mutombo was one of the most fun basketball players to watch as far as big men goes, right? With the good old finger wag. And
a lot of people say he's a real nice guy, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard. Never met him in person. One of my dad's favorite basketball players. But these men right here were very influential in a lot of people's lives. And there's a man today celebrating his birthday, his 88th birthday. And that's my Papa Jack. So, Papa, I love you and have a great birthday. 88 years old, man. That is pretty dang impressive to survive on this earth this long.
Quick question I've asked you. All right, so we were talking about Pete Rose, okay?
Yeah.
So he had the lifetime ban from baseball, right?
Yeah, we got to dive into this.
Lifetime. His life is over. So it was lifetime ban. It wasn't. Well, I'm just still saying it wasn't like it's internal ban. It was his lifetime. Okay, his life is over. Correct.
So automatically in the Hall of Fame. Then
put his ass in.
Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. All right, let's look at it from a different angle, or same angle but different question. How many years? Because he's gonna get in, right?
He's done his time.
Well, literally. How many years until he gets into the Hall of Fame? How many votes do you think is it gonna? When do they put him on the ballot?
If it doesn't happen like pretty quick now that he's passed, like within the next year, within the next ballot, I would say you probably have to have like at least a generation of people go by because of how gambling is influenced in sports now, and it's more of a regular thing. I think as time goes by, I think it's going to be like less of a stigma because gambling will be more prevalent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people will look upon it and not as bad, I guess. And maybe when you start getting some of those old heads out of the way that have votes that are dying, and once they're gone, then I think you might see that. It's the same way too with the steroid stuff with guys like Barry Bonds.
Do you think Barry ever gets in?
That's tough, though. I mean, because that's the biggest name, right, on the list.
I mean,
you'd have to argue.
So I'd be interested to see, like, obviously it'd have to be like kind of an anonymous thing, but I mean, players know how many players are actually doing that, right? Like, sure, Barry Bonds got caught, but like Was it that prevalent during that time that everybody else like, hey, we were all doing it, so it's not as big of a deal for us? Like, I granted, like on the outside looking in, or if you were like kind of to Rick's point, if you're an old head, like, oh, we would never have disgraced the game like that, or as a fan, like, oh, how dare they try to cheat? But if like 80% of the league's looking around like, well, I'm glad we didn't get busted for that, then I think the players are going to recognize it more so than maybe like a fan or somebody else would. Like,
what do you think? What number would you throw out? Because at this point in time, it technically was not illegal to do steroids, right?
It wasn't, no.
Right.
I would say, I don't know, just because you got people that have, like, I guess, their own personal integrity, I would say it's probably no more than, like, 20 or 25% at the most, I would think. That would probably be, like, the highest point.
20, 25%?
So that's a little bit different than, like, a majority or even half.
Yeah.
Because I would like to think, hopefully, that they're all better human beings and better men, and they're playing the game the right way and not, like, you know.
But if it's not illegal, is it playing it the wrong way? I mean, it's kind of that shady gray area.
But baseball, they talk about baseball being the sport of all these unwritten rules. So why does it have to be wrote? Okay, if you have all these unwritten rules, why do some other things have to be? Because then you're kind of contradicting your whole, it's convenient to say it's the game of unwritten rules when it's convenient to say it, but not, when you want to disparage the sport a little bit.
I have to appreciate that sentiment when it comes to this particular debate. Because I'm always a guy who's like, Barry Bonds, man, take the steroids away from him, and I still think that he has, does he hit 73? I don't know.
Does he have as long of a career?
That's another point.
Prevents the injuries.
And when you do get injured, it allows you to bounce back a little bit quicker. But there was plenty of other generations who may not have been using steroids, but they were using the greenies. And I'm sure that there was other generations who maybe there was a point in time where cocaine was illegal and they were using that. And there was other generations where it was alcohol and
drinking in the dugout.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think each generation kind of has its own little crutch, if you will. And like, what did we just get through with? And we're not done with it. We're in the middle of bamming people for it left and right. But the spider tack, doctoring up the baseball for pitchers. And then you had the Astros cheating scandal. Everyone blows up the Astros for it, but there was no way that the Astros were the only team doing that, because there's already been some rumors of the Yankees and the Red Sox. So I don't know. It's one of those situations. I don't got a degree in none of that stuff, right? I know that growing up watching Barry Bonds and watching the way that pitchers would just walk him, I've never seen anyone more feared in the batter's box than what Barry Bonds was.
Feared, maybe more respected, maybe too.
Okay, feared, respected.
I'm just being smart.
I feel like they're kind of one and the same in that particular.
I'll just be facetious.
Yeah, and Shohei Ohtani's kind of on his way, but they still just keep on pitching to that man.
When you're getting walked when the bases are loaded, that tells you something. And we haven't seen really that happen with Ohtani yet, but they were like purposefully walking Bonds when bases were loaded, or even 2-3 guys on there just because.
I think we saw it last year. If it wasn't last year, it might have been this year with, I believe, Corey Seager, the shortstop. I think he was with the Rangers, still with the Rangers, but I think that he got walked with the bases loaded last year.
Situationally, maybe once, like if the way the pitching matchup and you don't want to make a change or something, or I don't know, but I mean, like when it's routine, like kind of was with Bonds, that's a little bit different, I think.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. Again, we're going to talk about Indiana and how they have finally cracked the top 25 in your minute with Max. And then, of course, we're going to dive through these Major League Baseball playoffs. Top of the 9th inning here between Detroit, the Tigers and the Astros. I mean, what's your thoughts on this before we dive into some football?
I was thinking Detroit was probably going to win this game based off of the pitching matchup. Skubal, who's probably pretty much like he might be Cy Young guy, I guess, this year.
Yeah,
pretty sure. So not to mention, just Houston. Don't want to see them win. They've been winning enough. I like to see them go down. And hey, Michigan Eddie's at the game.
He is at the game.
So right on, Michigan Eddie. Hope you got some good seats, and hopefully
he's got great seats. Yeah. He's on the third base side. I wish I would have been able to pay attention to this game a little bit more. He's on the third base side behind the dugout. I think 2 rows up, and he's got a blue and yellow or amazing yellow.
What else?
Yeah, wig on.
He's wearing a wig. Okay, he's doing that. Okay,
so he may get on TV with that.
He probably would, because that's how me and my boy Vince did. Like on Sunday Night Baseball about 3 years ago. Was if you, I had my Philly Fanatic hat on that looks like the Philly Fanatic itself, and when you're standing there and you're not, mugging the camera because you don't know you're on, they'll keep you on there longer. As soon as you start saying, hey, look at me,
then it's not funny
something
anymore.
else, So we were on there for quite a while, so pretty impressed.
Well, we are your home for the Auburn Tigers here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Coach Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers looking to get a big upset this week between the hedges this Saturday. Auburn Tigers, Georgia Bulldogs kickoff at 2:30 on your number one destination for college football in the Auburn Tigers. We'll talk about Georgia and Alabama later.
The other game right now, too, 0-0 between Royals and Baltimore right now.
Yeah, I was going to flip that over here after this game.
And that's in the bottom of the fifth.
Bottom of the fifth. And if you'd like to watch all of these games, go to ESPNPC.com and go click on TV channel to get KHS TV. Auburn and Georgia, what do you think? What do you think the final score of this game is going to be?
First of all, I appreciate Randy sending me to Athens to go watch the game this week. No, I will be there, but no, Randy's not paying for it. We'll see. I'm interested to see how the team responds this week. People are trying to talk about the second half of the Alabama game, and I know you said we'll kind of touch on this a little bit more later. And are they going to build on that, or are they going to or was that just a desperation half? And we'll see. But if I was picking right now, I don't think Auburn's going to be particularly successful on offense. I'm going to say like 31-13, somewhere like that.
31-13, all right. So that's and I think maybe you feel a little differently if this game's in Jordan-Hare.
Oh yeah.
As far as the outcome, the things that could affect the outcome.
Obviously, like weird things happen in Jordan-Hare, but they've been bad in Jordan-Hare this year. And granted, weird things tend to happen against Alabama and Georgia more so than anybody else. It feels like in Jordan-Hare with those being such big rivalries.
That's because we're watching more of those games.
I guess so. But
against those teams.
But the way that Auburn is turning the ball over this year, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Awful situations. Like, it's just got to be very, like I said, I was fairly high on Auburn going into, I'll give Auburn all the crap in the world, but I was fairly high on them going into the season. And just the way they've had no ability to take care of the ball against anybody not named Alabama A&M is just, it's very concerning.
It really is. And they had a little success against New Mexico. I don't know what the turnover.
If we're going to talk about New Mexico, and I saw a stat today that
one and the same.
That Hugh Freeze has 20 plus turnovers in 8 of his seasons as a head coach.
That's not a.
Nick Saban had 2. Or 1, I think, in his career.
1 in his career where the team had 20
plus turnovers in a single season. Granted, obviously, different philosophies on offense and everything like that, but you don't win a whole lot of games when you're averaging 1 point at whatever turnovers per game or more. So
We got a good question here from Wright State Chris. Chef Ross chiming in, says, let's go Brewers. How you doing, Chef Ross? And hey, I am all for the Brewers moving on. Wright State Chris says, can we make the argument that Kentucky has the best defense in the SEC? Just don't look at the South Carolina game. 850-215-6290. Keep your questions rolling in this afternoon.
Can we? Sure. Even if you look at the South Carolina game, if you look at the statistics from that game, their offense gained less yards against Kentucky than Georgia's did. So, they had 4 interceptions, I believe, in that game. I think they even had a 5th turnover as a fumble. So, when your defense is constantly being put back on the field and on a short field, it's like, yeah, you're going to give up a lot of points, but they didn't give up a ton of yards. So, Kentucky, people wanted to crap on Kentucky after the South Carolina game. But you have Mark Stoops, who's been a great defensive mind for 2 decades plus in FBS, and their defensive coordinator, whose name is escaping my mind at the moment here, but he's been with Kentucky and Mark Stoops for a while now, and they're constantly they're not flashy, but they typically play sound defense, and they've shown that for 2 games in a row now against
Brad White,
yep, and their defensive line, they've got some guys that would start anywhere in the country, especially their big nose tackle number 0 Walker. The guy's a menace in the middle there, and I think he's a guy.
DT should not be allowed to wear 0, but that's.
I kind of agree with you there. There's some amount of DT where 90 something. I just love.
Yeah, or even 75, like Joseph Chima for the Mosley Dolphins.
And they just play. They're just typically a fundamentally sound team. And and we've seen this with Lane Kiffin before. They like to put up 70 points against the Walfords of the world, and then they play a halfway decent defense, and they struggle.
Does this not validate, but all right. How did you feel previous to this game about Lane Kiffin's chances of going to Florida? I thought they were very low. I would say minimal. I would say 0.
Yeah, I felt it was highly unlikely. I still think it's highly unlikely.
You still say it's highly unlikely. You don't think a loss
if you're
like
Florida,
this?
you're already losing to Kentucky without Lane. Why are you paying Lane the loss now? But I mean, if we're being honest, right? But I don't think Lane's going to leave. And I mean, I could see Ole Miss fans like hating to see a performance like that. But I mean, like, but you're Ole Miss. At a certain point, you got to know who you are doing and who you're going to get that's better than Lane.
I are who I are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Lane at this point, like, I think he really wanted the Bama job, and I don't think he even got a sniff of it. And I think maybe he's smart enough to be the big fish in the small pond over there at Ole Miss. Like, he could be the Mark Stoops of Ole Miss, where the guy who's going to go down as their greatest head coach of all time without winning anything.
We got to get off the line here so that we can go talk with Max for a segment and a half or so. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll ramp this conversation right back up, because now I've just got a bunch of topics floating around in my head, as we always do here on Tangent Tuesday. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with a Major League Baseball playoff update.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your touchdown headquarters for the Mosley Dolphins and the Auburn Tigers.
Touchdown, Auburn!
Plus, premier college and NFL games.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Your source for the most live football on the Gulf Coast in a rich audio experience.
ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday afternoon. The remainder of the day, some sun and 86 with a light breeze out of the west at 6 miles per hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies and a low near 73. Tomorrow, wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, sunny and a high around 86. For Thursday, a variety of some sun and sprinkles and a high of 85. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hi folks, it's Tracy with Tracy's Fine Jewelry and Coin and Bullion Reserves. Did you know that we do more than just sell some of the finest jewelry in town? We can engrave on your wedding band, locket, Yeti cup, or almost anything. Need your watch battery changed? We can do that too. Our expert will even evaluate your coin collection. And of course, we always pay top dollar for your old gold and silver jewelry. See, there's a lot more to Tracy's Fine Jewelry than a lot of pretty sparkly things. Come and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hey there, folks. Looking for a place that feels like home right in the heart of Panama City? Well, look no further than Charlie Corm's Place at their new location on 15th Street. Charlie Corm's is not just a place, it's an experience. Imagine cozy corners, friendly faces, and the aroma of delicious dishes that'll make your taste buds dance. From sunrise breakfast to late night bites, Charlie Corm's on 15th Street has it all. Charlie Corm's Place on 15th Street is now offering exclusive weekday lunch specials. Visit Charlie Corm's Place on 15th Street. Look for the giant mural.
We're live and local. From Camp Helen State Park to the historic Martin Theater.
Definitely time to let our hair down and have some fun.
It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Break for a season, then I blow it like that. Done things in my life that'll make you yak. We take some sex, but there's more at bats. Ain't throwing no shade, I just keep it 100. That's facts. Like your minute with Max. This is your minute with Max, and Houston has runners on the corners right now. We're in the bottom of the ninth. Detroit leading 3-0. And Max Delighten, what's been your thoughts so far on this game as you're dealing with strep throat this afternoon?
Yeah, man, that's going to be the most I've spoken all day. How are you guys doing today?
We've been
better than you. I guess.
I'm doing great. I've already hit a couple parlays in baseball I just looked at. So wee.
I love the wee. Yeah, man, I haven't had strep since I was like 8 years old. So it's one of those, man. But
have you been eating a lot of popsicles? Because I've only had it one time, and I tell you what, that might have been the sickest that I could ever remember being in my life. I ate a lot of Nickelodeon slime popsicles.
Yeah, dude, it just feels like someone's just drying my throat all day. But anyway, that is what it is. A lot of tea, I guess. Anyway, though, yeah, man, first couple games of baseball, the Tigers are pretty fun. I mean, as far as like a bad small ball team, I mean, Tariq Skubal, hopefully they hold on here, but it's going to be a good ending. I would love to see them make a run. They're kind of like a watered-down version of last year's Diamondbacks, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is that. And they, but I would say that last year, the Diamondbacks, as the Houston Astros, are going to push across a run here to make it 3-1 with runners on first and second. Last year, the Diamondbacks kind of Suzuki'd their way into the playoffs, a Suzuki that was sputtering, and via the drop ball from Seiya Suzuki, whereas the Tigers, though, they kind of earned their way into the playoffs. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they did. I mean, in August, they actually had a 0.2% chance at the start of August to make the playoffs. So it's kind of awesome that they're making it. And also hopefully going to win game 1 here. But I think it's cool. It's cool to see, too. I think Skubal and Sale both got the pitching triple crown, didn't they?
I believe so. I can't quote on Sale, but Skubal, though.
I think he did But, yeah, for wins, ERA, and strikeouts, I'm glad they still count wins for that. I mean, getting 18 wins is hard enough, let alone on the Tigers, who are, still figuring a lot of things out. So I'm really happy for them.
And another thing with that you mentioned, the 18 wins, nowadays pitchers are lucky to even pitch the amount of innings that it takes to get an actual win.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it's definitely noteworthy. I'm glad to see him doing well on the big stage too. I know people are all right, let's see him in the playoffs, but looks like the Astros are two outs away from losing game 1 here. So good for the Tigers.
There you go. There's runners on second and third though in scoring position. Tyler, you got something to
I got a question for Max here, and I'm going to need you to put this into some football terms for me. So there's a stat thrown out there that the 2024 Tigers are the first team in MLB history to make the playoffs without 150 hits from a single player, 75 RBIs from a single player, 25 home runs or 25 stolen bases from a single player. They're the first team in the 162-game season to make the playoffs with nobody hitting those marks. Put that in football terms for me. Not having a 1,000-yard rusher, a 3,000-yard passer, and a defensive line with 4 sacks.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a team that would be a good comp for that. I mean, I guess we'll have some good ones now with the playoff being expanded, but that is
Seattle Seahawks the year that Marshawn Lynch
I was going to say that with the losing record, and they won their division, and they made the run with Beast Mode and the Beast Quake and all that kind of thing. But, I mean, stat-wise, they might have had dudes that made those numbers.
Interesting. Yeah, no, like I said, I don't know how significant, though. I don't know how, are those fairly normal, thresholds for all those statistics?
Yeah, usually you have at least a few guys hit that, especially the 25 homers. That's the craziest thing to me.
Gotcha.
That's a really good question. I don't even know what a good comp would be for that.
Yeah, like I said, I see stats like that. I'm oh, that's really cool, but I have no idea what it means.
Maybe a bunch of athletic or A's teams that, were using the numbers and analytics and make it into the playoffs, but get bounced pretty quick.
Well, Tavares Jackson that year in 2011, who was the quarterback for the Seahawks there, had 3,091 passing yards.
So he just hit that mark.
Marshawn Lynch had 1,200 yards on the ground. So
there you go.
We're busted there. Oh, man.
I mean, the Tigers' offense isn't too far off from the Bears' offense when they made the Super Bowl against Peyton Manning, led by Rex Grossman.
Oh, what was that, 2006?
No, it was longer than that. We'll say maybe 8 back, right?
Yeah.
2006?
Yeah,
with another one there.
But a couple other things, too, on how about some big college football stuff happened this weekend, huh?
What? They played this last week? I thought everyone took off.
Yeah, I was at a farmer's market all day Saturday, so if anything happened, I'm completely unaware of the situation.
Well, during the day, but we know what you were doing Saturday night.
Actually, there is one team. Well, there's a couple of teams. There's a team that, their first loss kind of was funny to all of us, and then ever since then, it just gets more sad and more sad. And we love this team, most of us do here in this area. I cannot believe the trouncing that SMU, the Mustangs, put on Florida State. And I thought it was going to be a 20-point, victory for SMU, but...
Well, it's funny because we both predicted Florida State to lose that game preseason, but that was also expected to be their first loss of the season, too. With it being their 4th of the season, it's a whole different feeling. Now it looks like DJU may not play the rest of the year, which I think is a silver lining for Florida State. He provides nothing to them long term at this point, and he provides nothing to them in the short term, obviously, because they're 1-4. So I think this is. Maybe Brock Glenn loses the next 4 games also, but at least he gives you an option for something in the future because DJU will not be there next year. We know that as 100% certainty.
Yeah.
I'm over here looking at 2006 Chicago Bears, and Rex Grossman was over 3,000. Thomas Jones, the running back, talk about forgotten names, was over 1,200. And then your top receiver looks like
was it Muhammad?
Yeah, it was Nassim Muhammad.
Wow.
Beast.
Good call. It's a name you ain't heard about in a while.
Yeah. His son was playing at A&M recently here. I don't know if he's still there or not, but he had played at least a year or two for Jimbo.
What about IU, though? IU creeped into the top 25 this week. What's their record looking like?
Noteworthy stuff there. Also, before we move on on the FSU thing, it's pretty funny that, they were like, oh, we're above this conference. SMU was, a big reason as to why FSU was suing the conference. They're like, we're better than playing teams like this. And, by the early fourth quarter, they had their backups and walk-ons in FSU just to kind of pour a little salt on the wound. So it's pretty funny to see. It's kind of funny to see water meet levels. So. Yeah.
Did you see the video clip of their band playing a sad version of the chop during the game? SMU's played at a very sad and slow pace. I think they were doing a review on an interception or something like that. And the band just playing in the background, but it's the most depressing thing I've ever. That is awesome. It's kind of the other point now. I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of sad, funny. I don't know. It's just I do feel for Florida State fans because as a sports fan, you never want to go through something like that. But, man.
Well, just talk about extreme highs to extreme furious, being infuriated after, being left out of the college football playoff. And now here you are, and you're just, you have no hope until next year.
Yeah.
Or to beat Florida. You beat Florida, and there's hope for that game, right?
Yeah. But, I don't know. I don't feel that bad for them. They've had their time in the sun. It is what it is. Sports. So,
I ain't mad at you.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I enjoy when college players troll. Was that true that Ryan Williams changed his profile picture to Michael Vick with a dog?
I can't verify that.
I saw it a couple times on Twitter and Facebook. I have no idea.
It was true that it was a rumor on the internet.
Now are so involved on the internet. I could see him, putting some thought into that. But
it is true that he had killed everybody on his eye tape.
It's too bad we can't get him and Jeremiah Smith in the NFL next year.
Oh, no.
I wonder if that's the next step in, this whole NIL, the whole, professionalizing, essentially, of college sports. At a certain point, I wonder how much – I know, that's more of an NFL rule than a college rule, so I guess that's maybe where the disconnect will be.
I don't think that the NFL wants it because, already with quarterbacks, you're seeing, 1 out of every 64, does well as a rookie. And I think that you're inviting, the NFL already gets enough black eyes from, and it's not the NFL's fault, and sometimes it's just not the guy's fault, the athlete's fault, even though it is their fault, but just sometimes life comes at you so fast that the decisions that you're making, you're not making the best of, but you also didn't get the greatest introduction in, and you just get a ton of
emotionally, mentally. What about the physical side too? I mean, people are getting hurt left and right. Now you're going to throw an 18 or 19-year-old kid out there going against trying to tackle a guy like Derrick Henry or something like that. Suicide.
Yeah, I'm not to sound like an old man yelling at the clouds here, but to sound like one. The NFL product has gotten pretty bad this year. The amount of flags, for illegal motions, illegal shifts, it's just a flag fest.
No preseason.
And there's so many, and that Dolphins-Titans game was an abomination to football. watching that game, I would rather have watched paint dry.
Well, look at the quarterback play. Like I said, and lack of preseason. You're talking flags. What positive could you take out of that?
Nothing.
Exactly. Will Levis didn't play.
Yeah, well, he did play. He hurt himself diving for a first down.
The most Will Levis.
Non-contact. The ground hurt him.
I do appreciate Will Levis proving my prognostication on him as an NFL quarterback true this season. I do appreciate him.
Rub some mayonnaise on it.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, I don't know if I sent this to Tyler or not, but I saw a tweet last night that was like, the thing about Will Levis is he's never been good at any level, and he's never even looked good at any level. But when you step back and look at the potential, that was also never there.
Oh, God, no, you didn't say that to me, but that's fantastic.
I've never understood, like, when we drafted him, I'm like, what are we doing? Everyone's like, well, he was the best quarterback on the board. So what? So
doesn't make him good. He was just better than the other guys who sucked also.
Is that even a fair take?
I mean, go back and look at the quarterback board, but
no, that's just what people were saying. Like on draft day,
it's smart. Though. I'm saying, like, I'm sure there's quarterbacks that have been playing since him that got drafted him that are doing better. Have to be.
Yeah, I would have to go back and look.
Probably not.
I mean, that was not a very great.
I mean, Hendon Hooker, like, he hasn't played a ton. He would be, but he's coming off the ACL, and the system at Tennessee is so iffy. And I think a lot of systems like that are why we're seeing the quarterback play what it is in the NFL. So
well, I guess that was CJ Stroud.
I like Michael Penix's stats and record and everything better than Will Levis's.
Wait,
that was a different draft class, though.
I'm just being smart.
Will Levis was last year, though.
Yeah.
So CJ Stroud.
Yeah, but that was before.
Oh,
I mean, it was before.
Oh,
Levis.
yeah.
I mean,
any quarterbacks after him.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker's, I know, a big name there at that point. I mean, Stetson Bennett was on the board, I guess, at that point. But, I mean, it's not like he's shown anything either yet in the NFL.
But when he did play, though, for the Rams, he wasn't doing what Levis was doing, throwing the ball away and giving it away to the other team.
I don't know if you watched one of his final preseason.
He had like 4 interceptions one preseason game.
Yeah, but he's not like the interceptions aren't the Will Levis kind where he's running, just chucking the ball before he's like an inch off the turf.
I don't know, some of those in that count.
Do interceptions count differently? Like, am I missing?
Yeah, there's some that are worse than others.
That's actually been one of my issues. I feel like we're taking all of Max's time. Max, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, no, you guys are good.
Do you want to talk about Donovan McCulley entering the transfer portal?
Yeah, I saw that. I feel bad for him. He never really went, like, hard ever since he got moved from quarterback. He was just not a quarterback. He was one of those guys who's just way more athletic than everyone else in high school. So he was a good quarterback. But he was not a bad receiver. He was actually, like, an honorable all-pro mention for us. But it's tough because, like, he was kind of a wide receiver 4 or 5 for us. Spignetti really tried to light a fire under him and kind of, did a little bit of motivation of, like, kind of dogging him a little bit. And I don't think he really took it well. He'll fall on his feet somewhere. He's an athletic dude. He'll be good, but it's not like a bad hit or anything.
Gotcha. That's going to be my question, because this may break your heart a little bit, but I could not name you that many players on the Indiana football roster. So I was curious of where he fell in the pecking order of receivers.
Like, he was super hyped when we got him because of the place of where Indiana football was. Just because he was like a 4-star recruit. Unfortunately, he didn't pan out. But it's not like good for him. His last catch for the Hoosiers was a touchdown this weekend. So
go out on top, baby.
And he hasn't had a catch since week 1, and he's been battling some injuries. So it is what it is. I get it. He can go play somewhere mid-major like the ACC and dominate. So.
Speaking of a former AAC team, I believe Cincinnati was AAC before they moved to the Big 12, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's kind of looking nice for the Hoosiers. That schedule's not looking too crazy right now. So, never say never. 40% chance.
Wright State Chris wants to know, would Max want Sorsby back? Brendan Sorsby, y'all's former quarterback.
Oh, I had some high hopes for him, but no, Curtis Rourke isn't bad. I know he started out a little shaky against Maryland, but he's not a bad quarterback. He's very solid and consistent, and this is like very insulting to Brock Purdy, but he's kind of like Brock Purdy where he can just kind of execute, like you don't need anything flashy, and he can make good passes. So, he has his limitations for sure, but he's a good quarterback. So it's kind of one of those guys you want as a college quarterback.
Who's been more
his Max experience?
Fred Hapner wants to know who's been more disappointing, Will Levis or DJ? And I'm assuming by DJ he's not talking about DJU. I think he's talking about Daniel Jones, but he could be talking about DJU because he did add in that he's an FS. Oh, well.
Oh, man. I guess you got to say
DJU has been way more disappointing. We're talking about a level that's actually like anyone can step. Not anyone can step in. You've got to be competent. But if you've got some athleticism, like Will Levis did all right at the college level. You know what I mean? For DJU to be such a prized possession in the transfer portal and for FSU to struggle this bad, is it 100% his fault? No, but it's like 75%, and that's not good. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
the problem with DJU is, like, you knew who he was going into the season. You knew what he was. Like, maybe Florida State thought the O-line would be produced better. Maybe they thought the running game would be better, and he could be more of a kind of managing that offense, which is what I said needed to be his bread and butter going into it, is not having to put too much on him. I said back in December I would have rolled with Glenn as opposed to bringing in DJU. I guess the competition is not the worst thing in the world, but the fact that he's been the starter for 5 games is just like a catastrophe at this point. Granted, it's not all his fault, but at a certain point you got to try something when your offense. It's not like their offense putting up 35 points and they're losing. Their offense is putting up 12 points and they're losing, and like it's just awful. And I mean, I hate to keep just kind of beating the dead horse here, and the dead horse, the Oscar horse. Like,
that's Fred Hapner's fault.
But
for,
I mean, like, it just
question.
is what it like. And it's not like there's been anything in DJU's career that inspires you confidence that he was going to be able to carry an offense like Jordan Travis did at times last year. He was the exact opposite.
He was just a name, man, like a name with sizzle that people knew, I think, and that's why, you know what I mean? People just sometimes.
But, I mean, he did have the celebrity status, maybe, because everybody knew his name.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
like,
he had a crazy
everybody knew
name.
he was average. Like, I don't think anybody was going to sit here and think he was
2 years at Clemson, basically gets ran out of Clemson, goes to Oregon State, and Oregon State, I don't think you could point to a game. He had 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, I believe, when I was looking at the numbers earlier this year.
And they only really started out hot, right? Like, weren't they like 4-0 or 5-0 and just fell off?
Yeah, and they were solid, but if you look at his numbers, it was a good defense and a good running game.
Boom, which you need that,
which is
and that's going to make any quarterback better, and it's going to make them look better as well. But yeah, I think a large part of this has to do, and I don't want to start ripping Mike Norvell, but it's like, why you knew what you had in Jordan Travis. Why did you go get a quarterback that's almost a polar opposite of what Jordan Travis brings to the table?
Yeah, and I mean, I get the experience is key, the starts are key, the competition is nice, but like I just don't know why you stuck with him for this long.
Yeah,
it's weird, especially with the program and the trajectory. I don't know why you keep going with the guy who clearly isn't the guy.
It's like NFL teams that draft a quarterback in the first round, first overall, and they know he's not the guy, but they just leave him there because nobody wants to admit that they were wrong and they got a lot invested. So it's like, you don't want to pull the plug. You want to let it go as long as it can, I guess.
Yeah, but those guys end up getting fired with the quarterback.
Right.
So it's
I mean,
really
Norvell, I don't know. You know what I mean? He might be getting fired. Go down with the ship, man.
850-215-6290. We're taking your text, and we'll take your calls here in a few moments. Max, I'll send you over the pick'em because Tyler has actually put together a pick'em for this week, and it's handwritten right now. So I'll get it all typed up and shoot you a picture over, and then we'll get everything caught up to date as well. But what would you like to leave us? Well, actually, who is, the Cubs are not in the postseason, so give me the World Series that Max DeLayden wants to see.
That I want to see?
Yeah, that you want to see.
I think the best, firepower-wise, would be Phillies, Yankees. But, I mean, if that doesn't work out, a Subway Series would be pretty fun, too.
I might would boycott the World Series if it was a Subway Series. I'm just kidding. That's always
hilarious. I don't want the Dodgers for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Now, give me the World Series you think we see. I mean, you think we see.
I'm going to go with Phillies over Yankees.
Phillies over Yankees.
I'll take the rematch.
I'll take the Phillies over Yankees in 7.
So you'll take so not only is it the World Series you want to see, but it's the World Series that you think we'll see.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it would be fun to see, the
I
Mets
agree.
I know you guys probably don't like the Mets, but, the Mets are just, kind of funny to me, so it'd be kind of funny to see them make it, but I don't think they have the firepower to make it.
I would love to see the ALCS be the Royals and the well, no, that can't even happen because they're playing right now. So the Royals and the Tigers. That would be a fun ALCS, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Maybe we're sleeping on the Indians, too, or the Guardians, whatever you want to call them.
Hey, if they make it to the World Series all next year, we're calling them the Indians right here on ESPN Northwest
They're always
Florida.
Indians. That's who lost the Cubs.
And most of the people over there in Cleveland, from what I hear, Clevelanders or Clevelanders, people from the land, they still call them the Indians up that way. Max, thank you so much for lending us your time today. Why don't you tell the people who it is that you're with and how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Allegiant Lending Firm, 850-565-1160. Give us a shout. We can finance your home, condo, manufactured home, you name it. Appreciate it, Dave.
All right, my man. Hey, take care, and we'll chat with you next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
Absolutely. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. When we get back, we're going to break down what we're watching right here on the Kelly Clarkson Show.
ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
How am I delusional? Did I say I was a great ball player? I am a great ball player. I was. That's a fact, and you know it. Back up the second line, you ball-headed moron. I dare you to back it up. You can't. You can't back it up. You're a liar. You're a bone-faced liar.
Are you still there, Jim?
Paul Feinbaum, weeknights, 6 to 10 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday afternoon. The remainder of the day, some sun and 86 with a light breeze out of the west at 6 miles per hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies and a low near 73. Tomorrow, wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, sunny and a high around 86. For Thursday, a variety of some sun and sprinkles and a high of 85. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. They take pride in caring for their customers' property by providing lawn and whole house pest control. Whether you have roaches or any other unwanted bugs in your home, Turf Pro has you covered. Or if your lawn needs weed control, fertilize, insect control, Turf Pro has you covered by providing custom treatments to meet your property's needs. No property is the same, so why should it be treated that way? Turf Pro, where the blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Call 850-890-5820.
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials, Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus, live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive, across from the Navy base.
From Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge, we're live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're 14 minutes away from hour number 2, and if you were tuned in to that Detroit Tigers and Houston Astros game, the final is over. It is a final over there. The final was 3-1, and right now the Brewers are on top of the Mets 1-0 in the bottom of the first and threatening with more as they have runners on first and second with 0 out. So go Brew Crew. Also, bottom of the 7th, and the Royals are up on top of the Orioles 1-0. Now, real quick, before we get any deeper into this, we've got a few updates on the Kelly Clarkson Show that just went to commercial. The reason I said that is because it went off of the game, and then I'm up here I'm like, why are we watching the Kelly Clarkson Show? What's going on here? But we have a shout out.
Yeah, we got a special shout out. Not only are we your home of the Atlanta Braves.
Yes, we are.
But we also want to give a big shout out to Jalen and the Lynn Haven Braves. Heading out there to Lynn Haven Sports Park, taking on the Lynn Haven Sharks tonight. I just want to wish them a good luck, and good luck to my nephew Jalen, and hope he strikes him out tonight.
You know what? I'll tell you this. Jalen, if you and the Lynn Haven Braves take down the Sharks, I feel like that's good juju for the Braves to get a win tonight against the Padres. So go out there and do us proud, my man. And Lynn Haven is a beautiful complex. They keep that thing in shape. Love when I'm able to go play some softball out there, and just love youth sports in general. Paul says FSU, no leadership on either side of the ball. Players need to step up. Right State Chris says, give me a Tigers-Indian series. Not sure when they would meet, but that's a classic matchup. I would have to look at the bracket to see exactly how that would play out. Then you have Tim Adams saying the best way to describe this is going back to when we were talking about the 125 hits, the pitcher with so many wins, and a player with 25 home runs. He says the best way to describe it would be a pure team accomplishment. No one person was dominant. Everybody just did their jobs. They weren't flashy, but just got things done. And it got things done together. They were able to accomplish a lot. And yes, and I think Tyler knew that when he was asking that question, not trying to put words into your mouth, Tyler, but also that's just one of the fun things that we love about having Max on with us, especially, he's a soccer guy, so we always try to get those comparisons. Well, and Tyler's a big football guy, so with that, it was like, give me the team. Who is the team that kind of resembles that remark?
Explain this to me like I'm 5.
Yeah. Well, explain it to you like it's 5, I think it would be 10. Tim has went to it.
But I think that really just shows you, like, it doesn't matter the sport, it doesn't matter the league, the level, like, if you don't beat yourself, if you can play complementary ball, like in any sport, it just shows you, like, it's a winning formula. You may not always win, you can get out talented, but if you can be complementary and you can play fundamentally sound, you're probably going to win a lot of games no matter the sport.
Outside of a couple of years with Cleveland, LeBron James, you can put him on any team where he's the sole guy, and you're going to have a great regular season. You might have a run in the playoffs, but it's not going to formulate into a championship for you. I would much rather have 5 guys who are, average. Give me 3 deep role players that are real good that I can count on that could all qualify for 6th man of the year, and then maybe 1 star and a superstar at that point. That's what you got to call them.
Like 04-05 Pistons.
Yeah, give me a team like the Pistons. Give me a team like the Indiana Pacers before they went brawling at the Palace. I mean, it was like Jermaine O'Neal, Reggie. You had some names on there, but at that point in time in their careers, outside of Reggie, they really weren't huge names. They were just they had hard work ethic. It's Derrick Henry in a nutshell. Now, Derrick Henry, I think it was in the auction chat that I saw this. Maybe it was just scrolling through Facebook, but Derrick Henry is the epitome of getting a whole bunch of talent, where 100% talent meets 100% work ethic. Yeah. And you have a situation like that, but here's the thing, it doesn't boil down in any sport, even in a sport like basketball, which is why I went to that point, because that's the most individual that you can get in a team sport, is the sport of basketball, because there's only 5 players on the court at a time. With football, I mean, you're talking about 11 on the field at a time, but you're talking about 22 players total when it comes to offense and defense, and you better have some good depth there for role players. And when it comes to baseball, guys need days off. Guys are going to get injured. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you better have a good team. Then, further than that, your farm system needs to be good. I don't get the Atlanta Braves this year, and speaking to that fact, the Mets as well are an anomaly for them being in the playoffs, dealing with all what they've dealt with. I would say that the Mets might have a better farm system without me looking at the numbers, but the Braves do not. The Braves have been at the bottom of the farm system really since about the 2nd or 3rd year that we've been on this run here. So, shout out to the Braves and what they've been able to do this year. Let's see here. Chef Ross says Baltimore might be in trouble. Okay, I thought the Wright State Chris said it looks like that was his ACL. I guess I just got dyslexia for a second because that's ALCS. So that could be the Tigers and the Indians for the ALCS. Baltimore might be in trouble. Kansas City's up right now. Caveman Rick, I wanted to ask you about this. Now, this is why I don't even like picking baseball playoffs, because I'm always wrong. I'm like, man, how is this? How are the Detroit Tigers going to match up with a juggernaut of the Houston Astros? Well, here's the other thing: is we're talking about road teams taking down the home teams in game 1 of the series, and all 3 of these games are going to be played in Minute Maid Park and for Baltimore at Camden Yards. Like, what do you make of that? What do you make of these lower seeded teams going into the other teams' houses and taking care of business in game 1?
I'm fine with it. I mean, except for with my team, they're off right now. But it's tough for teams that come into Philly and win. Though we got probably the toughest environment to come into play. I don't think there's a whole lot to it. I think obviously you're the lower seed. You're probably playing with a little bit more house money. You're not expected to necessarily win. So you can kind of go out there and you can kind of do a little bit more. You can kind of play a little bit more free. I'm sure the Astros, there's a lot expected out of them. So they're probably a little bit tighter in that game, playing at home in front of your fans and your crowd and what have you. And, the Tigers, Max was saying a month ago they had like a less than a 2% chance of making it, and here they are. So
I think he said 0.2
or 0.2. Okay,
yeah, which is still the same.
Yeah,
It still is less than 2%.
Yeah, well, 'cause I thought it was like 1 point something, but whatever it is, I mean, they basically weren't supposed to be in the playoffs right now, and here they are taking game one. But again, look at pitching. You got basically the Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
Going up against the Astros, so you think he's probably going to fare pretty well. And so I mean, all they got to do is win one more game.
And you got. They only got to win one more game, but on the flip side of that, how deep is the pitching beyond that? Like, because if you lose game two, now does the momentum feels like it swings back in the Astros' favor, and you know that those fans at Minute Maid Park are going to be wild and ready to go. Man, there's just nothing like playoff baseball, especially when you get these kind of upsets, even though it's not a full upset yet. It's just that one game. John Moore saying the Phillies starting pitching has been suspect in the second half. I don't think it's strong enough to carry them to a championship. Plus, they have not been hitting well as of late. Do you think they turn that back around, or do you think that it's just one of those type curses? Not curses, but not playing meaningful baseball down the stretch can hurt you.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, we've had a decent lead, not like you guys had last year, the Braves, double-digit, lead in the division. We kept it a little bit narrower. I just don't think that they were pressed. And then when they were pressed for wins and they were pressed against teams like the Braves the last time we played you guys, we handled you. So I think, time's of the essence. Now the playoffs are starting. Now the games are meaning a lot more. It's more heightened awareness and everything. I think they'll have a good showing. I'm not too worried about them.
All right. Well, I've got 2 tickets to Swampy Jack's for you to experience the Lucius.
Lucius?
I don't know. I don't think it's Lucius. It's Lusus. So I should have asked how to pronounce this. How about we just go with this? Mr. Creepy's Demented Labyrinth. And that's going to be October 4th, the 5th, the 11th, the 12th, the 18th, the 19th, the 25th, the 26th, and the 31st. It's going to be at Swampy Jack's over there, 284 Powell Adams Road, Panama City Beach, Florida. You can also purchase tickets online, but if you don't want to buy them, how about we do this? Next caller, 850-215-6290 is going to get a pair of tickets. We don't even got to put you on the air unless you want to air any grievances. And there's going to be a blackout event on October 4th and the 25th. That should be fun, like a little no lights, talk about scary. That could be fun. I might have to go experience one of those October 4th or the 25th. 850-215-6290. Got 2 tickets for you, Mr. Creepy's Demented Labyrinth. I still got a minute to kill here. So with that being said, we're taking your text and now your calls. Right State Chris says, is Chris Sale ready for the playoffs? He is out for the wild card round, and that is just something that you don't want to see. I was trying to look up earlier to see, is Reynaldo Lopez going to be able to make it back, or have they shut him down for the year? I just can't remember that as it stands right now, because I don't know why we're going with AJ Smith-Shawver, but yeah, it's driving me wild, man. Like, I'm going to have to sit there and watch. I was telling Ryan Mulvey earlier. Why?
Because when you guys lose, it'll be like, yo, we threw out Smith-Shawver. What do you expect?
Yeah.
What do you think was going to happen?
I was telling Ryan Mulvey earlier, like, if I was betting, I'm staying away from this series for sure. Not going to bet on it at all. But if I were betting on this game tonight, I would take the Padres and the over, because I think the Padres on their own cover the over. Even though in playoff baseball, the scoring drops down a lot.
But you got a guy like Smith-Shawver going against guys like Tatis and stuff, man. They're just going to probably he's going to get lit, probably, more than likely.
Why do the Braves never have their best pitchers available for the playoffs, right, State Chris? If I knew that, I'd probably be managing them or helping out Alex Anthopoulos as an assistant or something like that, and then maybe just trying to call in here to ESPN Northwest Florida to check in on my best friends all the time. And with that being said, we're going to take a break. When we get back, it's hour number 2. I've let him go this far without talking about it, but we've got to talk about that Alabama-Georgia game, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well. You know the number by now.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday afternoon. The remainder of the day, some sun and 86 with a light breeze out of the west at 6 miles per hour. For tonight, mostly clear skies and a low near 73. Tomorrow, wind 5 to 10 miles per hour, sunny and a high around 86. For Thursday, a variety of some sun and sprinkles and a high of 85. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore Portable Building Dealer, Panama City.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. See Mid-South Lumber for all of your DIY projects, including windows, doors, siding, lumber, and millwork. Are you building a new home? Bring your contractor in to Mid-South Lumber and meet with a member of their sales team to discuss your framing, siding, windows, and doors. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. 717 West 11th Street.
God, guns, and wrestling. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, home of the Mosley Dolphins, who went on the road last night, took down the Milton Panthers in Milton, Florida by a score of 42-14. Very thankful for Robert Fleming filling in for Kyle Wright. And in just not even a full 2 weeks, not this Friday, but next Friday, Niceville comes to town. Guys, this is going to be a huge football game. I don't even want you to listen to me call this game. I never do. I really want you to come out to Tommy Oliver. I appreciate those who do listen. But if you want to see a great high school football game, get out there to Tommy Oliver. Let's pack the away side with just people from Bay County who love Bay County football. All eyes on that game outside of if you have youngins, and they're playing games and you're going to that, then obviously I want you to go support your kids or your family members, whatever. But if you're just, if you don't got no skin in the game, then come watch Niceville and Mosley, because you've got two kids who are committed to D1 universities on Mosley. And I'm sure that there's a few. I'll have to look that up when I get into my research on Niceville, but two crazy good programs, and since I've been calling these games, they have been top notch every year. Last year, Mosley drives down the field, goes for two. After they could have kicked the extra point to tie it, they end up going for two to take the lead there, and then Niceville gets an opportunity for a field goal to win the game. I think they make the field goal, but there's a flag, pushes them back 5 more yards, and they miss the field goal. So come out to Tommy Oliver Stadium, not this Friday, but next Friday, 7 p.m. is going to be a great time. And if you wave at me, I'll be up there in the booth. I probably won't be able to see you, but hey, you can always text me and tell me you're waving, then I'll wave right back at you. And we give shout outs for free if you text into 850-215-6290. Travis is on the line with us. Travis, what's going on, friend?
What's up? I heard y'all were talking about that that Alabama Georgia game.
We were about to. I've been kind of working our way into it and wait until we get into Tyler's take, so this can be about, Georgia and Alabama and not David and Tyler. What's your thoughts on it real quick here, because I do want to give Tyler his due time here. He pays a lot of money for this.
Well, as a Florida fan, I couldn't have found a better way to spend the weekend than watch Georgia go down. So, from a Florida fan, y'all get a roll tide.
Well, there you go, man. Do you think what kind of an opportunity do you think that the Florida Gators have against the Georgia Bulldogs this year?
Can I go negative?
I respect the honesty.
Hey, but what felt better? What felt better, though, real quick? What felt better? Watching SMU, a first-year ACC member, take down Florida State, or Alabama beating Georgia convincingly for the first half, but then Georgia just roaring back?
It was, so I watched the Alabama-Georgia game all the way through, and my wife wanted to watch the Florida State game because she is a Florida State fan. So we watched up until halftime, then she went to go get a shower. When she came back, I had the Georgia-Alabama game on, and it never went off because I refused to turn it. But it felt good. It felt good to see Georgia get beat. I mean, Florida State's been getting beat all season. It really kind of makes me feel bad for them. But
it's bad when Florida fans are feeling bad for Florida State. Ooh, man, that's tough.
Florida State fans,
But I tell you what-
850-215-6290. Go ahead, Trav.
I tell you what, it's funny. I was talking to a customer today I was changing a filter and talking to him, and he is an Ohio State fan, so he had no dog in the fight at all. But he asked what I thought about the Florida-Georgia game. I said, well, if they play the same way they played in the first half against Alabama, they'll beat us 21-0. If they play us the way they played the second half, they'll beat us 56-0. I was like, so either way, we're not scoring, and they are. But
I think that's a very honest assessment.
But yeah, it felt good. I actually really enjoyed the Alabama game a lot more. Watching Ryan Williams do his, I don't know what move that was he pulled at the end. I don't know what to call it. It's going to have to be the Williams. I don't know.
Call it the Williams whoop-de-doop.
Yeah, because he somehow got backwards, then spun around, and the Georgia defenders ran into each other. They didn't even know what he did.
It's so wild how that, because that was, in my opinion, not even the best catch of the night by Ryan Williams, though, because to me it was the one where he knocks it down and then has enough wherewithal to turn around, still catch the ball, because it wasn't just like a normal tip drill, and then he still gets about 10 to 15 more yards after the catch there. It was the kid in week one. He showed off his speed when they were playing against Western Kentucky, and I'm like, man, he's 17 years old, though. We'll see how he does when it's, big time game. And then to see him just week in and week out just get better, it's like, all right, this is wild. Travis, thanks so much for the call, man. Me and Tyler are going to dive into it, dude.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for taking it.
Oh, absolutely, as always. Where do you want to start with this game?
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, on the Ryan Williams thing, I think at this point, it's funny people bring up his age as a joke because it gets mentioned so often. At a certain point, the kid's not good for 17. The kid's just freaking good.
Yeah.
And to keep mentioning he's good for 17, he's good for 17. He's like, no, he's just good, period. I don't care if he's 18, 19, 20. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit more impressive. But the dude is just, playing out. And he looks like he's going to be, him and Jeremiah Smith are going to be the two best wide receivers in football for 3 years. Which is crazy to think. But there's nobody else out there right now that's making some of these plays. And Ohio State hasn't played quite the same level of competition them and Bama had played similar up until obviously a couple days ago. But it's funny because there's a lot of narratives coming out of this game. I don't know if you saw the video from Joe Klatt saying he's more impressed by what Georgia did than Bama to an extent. I don't know if you've seen that clip. I'm not going that far with it.
I have to agree with that. Not more impressed, but you go on and then
basically his thought was the cream always rises to the crop, the top, and the more plays that went on, the more Georgia looked like the better team. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. That's not me saying it. This is Joe Klatt. You can go on YouTube, Twitter, whatever, and find it. And I get the sentiment. I don't know if I necessarily agree. I think the game is almost the inverse of the USF game. And if you just look at the box score of the USF game and the Georgia game, it's wow, the Georgia game was really competitive and the USF game was a blowout. The Georgia game was competitive for about 12 football minutes.
Yeah.
And then the USF game was uncompetitive for about 6 football minutes. It's honestly almost a complete opposite. And man, they're really trying to get now. But like I said, there's some good things if you're a Georgia fan. You can find positives in it. The biggest disappointment as a Georgia is you come out and just look completely unprepared, completely like the moment was way too big for a program like Georgia that has done what they've done the last few years to come out and just look like they did not belong for at least 20 minutes isn't, I don't know if embarrassing is the right word, but it's very uncharacteristic of what we've seen from Kirby Smart for the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. And I think that's the biggest disappointment. Like, you're coming off a bye week, you're coming off a poor performance against Kentucky, and then that you followed up with arguably a worse 2 quarters against Alabama. There's nothing wrong with losing to Alabama. It's nothing embarrassing with losing, especially in Tuscaloosa at night. Yeah. But you come out and look like you don't belong for 20 minutes. And then, like, sure, you fought back. That's great. But, like, you didn't look like you belonged for 20-plus minutes. And, you know, there's the 3 turnover, whatever. Like, they fought back, which is great. They could have easily folded and lost by 40, which we've seen a lot of teams do, even Georgia teams over the years. Like, but so there is positives from it. But as a fan, it's like, really, that was the best we could do coming off a bye week. It's
especially coming off of a bye week, I think, is one of those where you just expected this to be, not saying like a 31-28 or which, I mean, it was kind of like
if it was
that,
41-34, but it was a legitimate back and forth.
Right.
That's one thing.
Right.
It was 30-7 or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden, Georgia fought back, which again, great, but
that says a lot, though, for them to be able to, like, fight back and not be, like, sitting there hanging their heads, and, well, I mean, like, you got, Beck, like, he wasn't starting, like, it's, like, 4th year or, like, 5th year, like Bennett, did. So, I mean, I'm thinking, like, the kid's got to grow a little bit, too, and it says a lot about him to have that bad of a start and then to battle back and have that confidence to get him
especially
within
in a
score.
Like,
and they could have won the damn game by the time it was all said and done. So that says a lot, too,
Yeah. My biggest takeaway, like, as a Georgia fan, like, trying to make light of whatever you can in a situation like that. Obviously the defense played better for the second half. Was Alabama being as aggressive? They ran a few trick plays, so it's hard to say whether they were or not. I'm not going to get into that argument, but as a Georgia, try to make parallels, like last year, start off real slow. Beck was very timid against South Carolina, against UAB, against Ball State, doing a lot of checkdowns. Then we get to the Auburn game, right on the road. Second half, we're losing that game. He starts throwing it downfield, a lot to Bowers, but forcing it downfield, having to come up in that moment, and Georgia ultimately pulls out the game on close to the last play of the game. Bowers scores like a minute 15 left, whatever it is now. So maybe this is that game for him this year. We're like, okay, second half, he had to come out guns a-blazing, and he looked pretty dang good for a lot of that second half. Still had a few bad throws that went right to some Bama guys that dropped it, but like maybe this is that springboard game for him this year. Why does he need a second one of those as a returning starter? That's a different question for a different time.
Yeah.
If the results end up being the same as last year as far as his performance, I'm okay with, you're okay with letting the chips fall where they may moving forward, but it's like that's the biggest hope as a Georgia fan I have coming out of that game.
Who's number 2 on the depth chart?
Gunnar Stockton.
Okay, is it Stockton? And then who's the third guy? Because I know, is it Rashada?
It's probably
He's
Rashada.
on the roster, though.
Yeah, it's Rashada,
Okay.
but probably just because the freshman they brought in, he had a knee issue for a lot of spring and summer camp, so I don't know how many live reps he got, but I don't know when Rashada actually arrived on campus. So his game experience would probably make him number 3 over a true freshman coming from like New Hampshire, Connecticut, which is not exactly like the biggest of high school football classifications. So if it got to that scary point, like, if I'm being honest, I don't want to see Gunnar Stockton in there playing. I mean,
well, I'm not even necessarily talking
like,
about this year per se.
It'll be interesting. It's going to be it'll be interesting to see how active Georgia is or isn't in the portal.
Yeah.
I don't think Gunnar Stockton's the starter regardless next year, and I never thought Brock Vandagriff was going to start for Georgia. I don't think I've ever come on the show and like BS y'all as far as hyping up players that I didn't actually believe in. And I mean, Brock Vandagriff has been very serviceable for Kentucky. They had a big win against Ole Miss. He had that one great throw late. But they just
think a fumble into the end zone for that win.
Well, yeah, but neither of them have ever looked like natural throwers of the football. It just looks like every time they throw the ball, it takes everything they have in them, and it's great. And they're good athletes, but it's just not a guy you see as a big time college quarterback.
I do got to say, from the Alabama perspective, there's a reason why Kalen DeBoer has been able to come in this season, and that was the first big game of the year for them. Wisconsin on the road, yes, that's a big game, but this right here is SEC football. It's at this point in time, your arch nemesis, right?
Yeah.
The reason behind that is the experience that Jalen Milroe was able to get last year, and yes, we've got a way better wide receiving core this year. But I've been very impressed with. I get scared because we run them so much. I'm just like, man, why are we doing this? But I was very impressed with Jalen Milroe, and that game could have been put in the casket earlier had they not turned the ball over deep into Georgia territory.
Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Well, I was just that game could have been put to bed earlier, but I just been impressed with him, and then to have the poise, because 9 times out of 10, man, I don't think that you should be taking shots as soon as like you lose the lead and then you just bang bang, here we go. But it's worked out, and obviously you got to give Ryan Williams a lot of credit. But you also, one thing I would say with Kalen DeBoer, I think that he's learned a valuable lesson. I hope that he's learned a valuable lesson from this, especially when you're playing competition that's neck and neck with you. When you've got, if you switch jerseys, like Desmond Howard said, you're looking at the same exact teams. You can't take your foot off the gas just because you're up 4 possessions. And like you mentioned, I enjoy watching trick plays, but there's a time when you're doing too much. And I think trick plays are more for when you're down than when you're up. Don't practice trick plays against a team like Georgia. Practice those against a team like Wisconsin.
Right. It's funny because like watching Jalen Milroe play quarterback right now, it's almost like watching like Derrick Henry play quarterback. Like it's just like he's a running back, and I don't even mean this as disrespect.
No.
He's a legitimate, probably D1 running back playing quarterback, which makes him a very difficult guy to scheme against. And once he breaks one, he's a hard guy to bring down. But man, it's funny, like obviously Bama won, that's all that matters at the end of the day. But like, how different is the Kalen DeBoer discussion today if they lose? Like if you blow a 28-point lead at home, like what is like? I mean, obviously it doesn't matter. It's all hypothetical. But that's very like. Obviously, I mean, his stock could not be any higher than it is. But like, if they blow a 28-point lead, like, where does his, like, how did the Bama fan, I mean, granted, it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of interesting, like, what ifs that could have, come from, but.
I guess I can only answer it the best that I can, because we were moments away from losing. Maybe not moments, but we were moments away from going overtime, and that's if Kirby Smart doesn't end up saying, hey, the game's done right here. We either lose the game by 1 point, which looks great to the College Football Playoff Committee, but honestly, in my opinion, you fighting all the way back is going to look great to the College Football Playoff Committee. So we've done our job there. Now, do we play for overtime? Who's gonna? I think maybe Bama, because of Milroe, has a slight.
Oh yeah, if I'm Kirby, I would
1,000%
go for 2. I would not want to risk having to defend Milroe because he's just so dangerous. But you're starting in the red zone. Essentially. Like he's just such a dangerous threat in that area. I wouldn't want to go blow for blow.
But when Georgia took the lead late in the game, all I could do was just kind of laugh. Like, I mean, everyone was saying this thing was over, and I'm sitting here the whole time saying it's not over. It's not over. And so yeah, that does. So the best way that I could put it into words is I don't think that I lose any faith in what Kalen DeBoer. It would have been like, that's just one of those L's that you took. Should have you taken it like that? Absolutely not. But now all right, when we get into these positions, it's time to do things a little bit different. This is still, it's Alabama. And you don't lose leads like that at Alabama if you want to coach here for a long time like your predecessor did.
It's funny. I mean, I remember texting you like, Georgia's going to make this a game. And it's going to get very close. They may actually have a legit chance, and then Bama's going to make a play, and we're going to lose. Like I've seen this game 1-2. I've seen this script play out 1-2. And I mean, I was slightly off with hope, but I mean, I was pretty spot on for when I said it was good. I was like, nope. I would have had to see us win the game 0 seconds on the clock for me to actually we were winning the game at that point in the game. Like going into it, obviously cautiously optimistic, but at that point in the game, I was like, nope, I'm not letting myself believe.
Those are some of the worst games as a fan, though, right? Because you start out, you're in a 4-score hole, 4-possession hole, and you're just like, all right, this game's over. Then then hope starts to creep back in. It's like, all right, hey, we're down to 3 possessions. Okay, this is a 2-possession game right here. Okay, so now there's a lot of hope. And then the hope just gets drained out of you, like somebody just is siphoning the water out of your body.
I tell you, it was very similar, like as far as the emotional roller coaster to the Tua national championship game. So we're playing, Georgia's leading a lot of that game. Obviously, I was more optimistic winning that game for long stretches of that game because we were leading or competitive in most of that game. But like late in the game, Bama's setting up for a chip shot field goal, and I can't remember who it was now, shanks the field goal at the end of regulation and goes in overtime. I was like, oh man, that's a sign that this is our time to pull it off. And then we know what happens after that. But it's just like, as far as like that emotional roller coaster, like, oh, this game's over. Oh crap, we have a shot. Oh no, now it's over again.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. 3, 6, 8 times. Shame on me. You know
Well,
what
it was like 2 years ago, I believe, whenever Tennessee beat us, right? And I was advocating very heavily for Alabama to be in the college football playoff because I was like, I do feel like they're one of the best teams. Well, both of those Tennessee and LSU games, I think we lost by a total of 4 points or something.
Yeah, it was or like 3.
Yeah, I think it might have been 3.
Because LSU won on a 2-point conversion, or maybe it was 4 points, and Tennessee won on a field goal, maybe.
But I think that Tennessee was down and they needed the field goal. It might have been tie game and they kicked the field goal. So it was 3 or 4. But either way, that's how both of those games were, where it was like, we're out of it. Oh, we got a chance there. Oh, we're out of it. Never count us out. You know that? Oh man, we suck. Like all that good stuff. But and those are the games right there. You could put on. I will take. It doesn't even. I don't even have to know how it's played out. This is how I say NFL's better. What I mean by that is the windows and how it's played out. This last Saturday, across the board, there were so many games that you could flip to and just find one possession finishes. And that's when college football is at its best. But you can give me my choice to watch the Super Bowl or to watch a top 5 program, especially if both of those programs are in the SEC, and I'm picking college football every time on that side of the fence. So, it's just in those kind of games, really, I can watch the Super Bowl, and if my team's not in it, which I've only had one opportunity, and I was 9 years old, so I was very invested into that. But I can watch the Super Bowl, or really any NFL game, even with my team now, especially with how garbage they are, and it's just like, there's no true heart investment. Like, I don't get the same jitters that I'm getting when I'm watching Alabama. Like, there was times when I was like 12, 13, if Alabama, well, no, that's not true because it wasn't. There was a time after Saban, so what, I was 16 when Saban came. So I would say, this is shameful to admit, but like when Johnny Manziel beat us, bro, like I was sad as, like, different sad than what I can even get to today. And I think winning a whole bunch
makes it a lot easier. Yeah, like I honestly, like, physically, I don't know if I could take having another team that I support as much as Georgia.
Yeah,
like physically, I would just be mentally exhausted. Like, especially being another like an NFL team, having that same level of fan and would like doing that all day Saturday, then all day Sunday every weekend for 12, 15 weeks. I would hate it. I would be mentally and physically exhausted every week.
Well, it's like, I love my Tennessee Titans. I do, but it's just like, it's just not, it's not necessarily the same. So that's, the beauty of that conversation is like the perspectives of which people come from. Because again, we're either talking about the brand of football or what that brand of football does to you that I think are the absolute differences. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We just spent 20 minutes talking about Alabama and Georgia, and we're probably not done yet because we'll figure out some other angles. But we do need to look at some of the other games from week 1 and maybe spend some time looking at week 2. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, the official station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Race to Talladega.
All right, Ryan, are you sitting down?
Sitting down.
Well, stand up because you just won the Race to Talladega.
Oh, boy. I can't stand up because I'm driving, but, man, that is exciting.
You posted a 2-second qualifying time, the fastest in the heat. You are in the pole position.
All right, that's what I'm talking about.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the north-northeast, mostly clear skies and 73. Sunshine tomorrow morning, the same at 82. In the afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 86. About the same at 85 Thursday, and we'll have some sun throughout the day with a small chance of rain showers in the afternoon and evening. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. We invite you to stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new 2024 Kia. You'll see why everyone is talking about Kia. The 2024 Kia will give you the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. The SUV family has movement that inspires. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. Fuel the thrill and command the road in a luxury sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away away today in a new 2024 Kia K5. Performance, power, and design built just for you. Discover the new Kia at Billboard Kia. Billboard Kia, the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillboardKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you just like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Billboard Kia. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Billboard Kia warranty.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. Coming up next, Sam Peebles going to be talking some Atlanta Braves with the Dogs here on the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes, Tyler Bishop, Caveman Rick. This is 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for the Auburn Tigers, who are on the road between the hedges, taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Kickoff set for 2:30 on your number one destination for college football and the Auburn Tigers. Lots of great games. Let's start off with the game from Friday, which was a fun game to watch. A lot of back and forth action. I actually ended up watching Top Rank Boxing later on after that game, and the main event was two ladies, and I'm blanking on their name right now, but they had a whole lot of beef between them. Caveman Rick, if you can maybe look that up for me, the two ladies who were boxing last Friday. It was one of the best boxing matches I'd ever seen.
Really?
I'm not even joking, because it was just pom, 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 pom. Like, it wasn't dancing, and they were doing a little bit of hugging, but they were throwing hands. One of the girls, Michaela, oh man, she has two M's, and then the other girl, blanking on her name, she was British. They were fighting in Madison Square Garden. And what you got? It was Michaela Mayer and Sandy. Say that again with your mic on.
Sandy Ryan, my bad.
Sandy Ryan. No, you're good, bro. I could hear you, but the people couldn't hear you. So yeah, that's Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan, and they were just going toe to toe, and that's kind of like how this Virginia Tech Miami game was going. But I would also recommend anyone that Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan, like, if you don't think girls could, like, if you don't like girls boxing, go watch that one and then tell me that you don't like girls boxing, because it was that good. And I'm not normally one to sit up here and say something like to that effect. Yeah. Virginia Tech Miami, we can talk about the game, or we can skip straight to the ending.
I mean, I'll say just as a whole, like, I was impressed with impressed with Virginia Tech, maybe a little bit disappointed in Miami, because I hadn't watched a ton of Miami before that game. Like, I thought Virginia Tech was able to run the ball extremely well against Miami. I mean, their quarterback made some better plays than I kind of expected. Again, I was
throwing drones.
I mean, and I mean, Cam Ward made some just incredible plays, which if you watch Cam Ward, like, I mean, it's probably not super shocking, but like I said, I hadn't watched a ton. But I mean, I was just super impressed with the way Virginia Tech was able to move the ball at times. And then obviously it comes down to the which I ended up falling asleep before the end of the game. But the controversial ending, like, I'm surprised they were able to call it a touchdown on the field. But then I was equally surprised they were able to overturn it based on what the video evidence and everything was. And from what I could tell, they said it took like 5 minutes to overturn.
Yeah. It was a long time.
Any play that requires 5 minutes to overturn shouldn't be overturned.
And I can agree with that. Obviously, I love your prognostication. I love your takes in general, and I wholeheartedly believe in what you say. Even if we disagree, I still know that you're coming from a place of not just saying stuff to say it. Yeah. It's because you feel it, and you've been following this sport your whole entire life. It's tough for me, though, because when I'm looking at that and the ball comes loose, it's incomplete. You know, that's kind of how I feel about it. But and where I agree with you at is, if it takes you 5 minutes to reverse a call, though, it's taking you too much time, and we need to get away from that. We need to have a timer on how long it takes. 2 minutes or so, right? And you either know that you know, or you go with the call on the field, because that way we can still somewhat have the human element involved in this sport.
And it's supposed to be indisputable video evidence. If it takes you 5 minutes of watching video, it's not indisputable.
Yeah, it's disputable.
It's very much like, okay, well, like, we just have to go with
it's like the Hall of Fame question. If you have to think about it, they're not a Hall of Famer. it should be pretty instantaneous when you mention somebody. You know, if you got to sit there and dwell about it, well, they really, the answer is no.
Like sometimes I get you're watching a replay and like you got to sync up like where his feet were, where he secures the catch. Like I kind of get some of that. So like not all of them can be immediately like, okay, definitely catch, definitely. But like if you're sitting there watching the same thing, reverse, you know, fast forward, rewind. Like if you're having to do that many times,
yeah,
and it's just like, I mean,
if so many people are disagreeing about it after the fact, like right now, right, we're agreeing to disagree, but you say no call for reasons I agree with. I say, or you say touchdown or stick with the call.
Yeah.
It does not confirm the call, but the call stands. Big difference. There is a big difference in that. And I say, you know, I don't think it was a catch at all. But the fact that people are arguing about that,
it's like that Dez Bryant catch from like, what was it, 10, 12 years ago or whatever it was
against Green Bay.
And like I said, I'm not even if they had called it incomplete on the field, I wouldn't have argued it.
Yeah.
And then at that point you review it. Okay, I'm okay. But like that, and that's where I'm at. Like I don't know how they were able to make the call that they made, but then they made the call, and then they were able to they felt they were able to overturn it, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Sit there, you got to figure out the money, what's changing hands with the casinos and the gambling, and then make your decision based off of that. You know what I mean?
Miami still didn't cover. I mean, I don't know what the money line bets and everything look, but
that's why I like the app that I was telling you about.
But yeah, it makes you wonder sometimes too when they're thinking about this stuff kind of a while.
I mean, it's hard not to think of it a little bit. I mean, especially in a like, I'm not saying players are out there throwing games, but like when you have a situation like that where it's taking that long and phone calls and everything are being made, like all of a sudden, like it does open itself up to some scrutiny.
All right, so it closed at 17.5. All right, now this isn't talking about live money. This is talking about closed bets. The public bet 38% on 17.5 for Virginia Tech, 62% on Miami to cover 17.5. All right, so the spread's pretty much out of the window there. The money line, 97% of people took Miami on the money line, 3% of people taking Virginia Tech. So that's kind of like against.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd be interested to see those bets because at 17.5%, Miami would have been like,
but it's not the percentage of people; it's the amount of money. You could have 3% of people, but them laying down some really big bets.
And especially being
that's fair, but I don't think 3% of
I mean, I hear you.
people is going to cover up to the 97%. And then the over under was at 50. It didn't matter because the over under was obliterated. But then there's the live betting, which has become my favorite. I almost have stopped even gambling on game or betting on games until I see, all right, what's this first half looking like? And then I wait till I see someone like when I saw Georgia plus 11.5 plus money plus like 145 or something. I'm like, okay, that's easy.
I threw 20 in the over on that game, thinking that, you know, and close. The over was good, you know.
Oh man, I love it, man. For me, it's all about the sweat. It has nothing to do with trying to make money. Because if I was doing that, I would be.
The only way to really make money, you gotta throw down some big bills, though, man. You know, because it's all about like, I mean, you only win in the pros 56% of the time.
Yeah, you're like an expert if you're winning 55, 56%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's
I wish there is apps though where you can like track. You could track the amount of money you spent, your percentage, and all that stuff. My buddy Dalton Cope talks about. He's got an app where he kind of keeps track of his stuff like that. And it's like I wish I had the time and would stay committed to taking my information and moving.
I barely work that hard at my job. No, I'm just joking in case my boss knows. But yeah, no, that's a lot.
Well, you're a manager. That's how it goes. You work hard when needed to work hard.
But see, like Dalton, stay-at-home dad though, man. So yeah. Like, you know,
come on, man. We cannot throw shade at stay-at-home dads.
That's not throwing shade.
It is.
No,
it's saying you got so much time, so you should be able to do that.
It's just so like, okay, like it's not saying you got so much time, but like when you can delegate your own time, you know, on somebody else's dime 24/7. You know what I'm saying? You can say, hey, I'm going to take 30 minutes to do this out of your day or whatever, instead of like, hey, you're on somebody's clock for 9 hours straight or whatever, and you know they dictate when you can.
He is on someone else's clock, two other people's clock, because they just had a new youngin'.
I mean, I feel you, but it's still up to his rules. He's still the daddy,
and you're in more control of your own.
And like, let me tell you this, dude. Like, what he's doing, dude, there's plenty of people. I would have loved it. No.
I'm not. I'm just.
You know what I'm saying?
This is just on a whole different rabbit hole.
I'm just saying that I don't think that I don't know. Yeah, we'll put a poll up
Good
about
for him,
that.
though. I'm just still saying, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I know that you're
dude.
not throwing shade at Dalton. I'm just saying I think that sometimes people look at those livelihoods or whatever, and it's like, oh, you got all the time in the world to do whatever it is you need.
No,
and it's
no
like,
doubt.
I don't think so. I've been over at his house a couple times. Trust me, he's like, bro, you got to go. Oh man, love it. And Dalton is as you can confirm, a really good guy. I think you've met Dalton. He was at the fantasy draft.
When we were doing
the Champions League.
No, when we were doing the show, he was. At
Boston Tim's house.
Exactly right. Yep.
No doubt, man. That's the one thing about what this radio station in general and what this community provides.
And no doubt, if you're listening, Dalton, love you, man. You're a good guy, man.
Don't listen to
Jealous
me,
of
bro. You don't listen to me. I always be like.
So now we're really going to throw some shade at him.
Maybe he's in the car right now. You never know.
Hey, you do never know. But anyways, 850-205-6290. Who had the most surprising win? We'll take Georgia and Alabama out of this. I don't know if that's necessarily surprising either which way who wins that game. Oh, in your opinion, who had the most surprising win of this last college football weekend?
I mean, I feel like the cop-out answer is Kentucky versus Ole Miss, but I mean, like, and that's more based off of I think everybody, myself included, I'm not pretending to not be a part of it, but like I think everybody was so blown away by that South Carolina game. Again, because I don't think a lot of us watched the game. I think a lot of us kind of saw the final score and they lost, 31-10. Everybody's like, wow, this is a terrible Kentucky team if they're losing to South Carolina like that. So for them to go into Oxford and win for the first time in 50 years or whatever it was kind of a cool story. So, I mean, I think that's the fairly obvious answer, but I mean, I think my favorite answer, though, is Oklahoma. I mean, because of where...
I like it.
I think I actually picked... Maybe I picked Auburn. I can't remember who I picked to win in the pick, but I think the fact of how Oklahoma played.
Right.
New quarterback, 5 wide receivers missing. Mm-hmm. And they were down...
5 wide receivers missing. Not just like your top 2 or whatever.
5 wide receivers missing. They had a defensive back playing wide receiver during the game to help out for depth. And they were down with 3 or 4 minutes left. And Peyton Thorne just throws the most ridiculous pick 6 because... Why not? What in the Bo Nix was he doing?
What in the Bo Nix?
What in the Auburn Bo Nix was he doing? We won't call him the Oregon, the Auburn Bo Nix.
What a crappy game he had too, man.
And it's just like,
Bo Nix?
Yeah.
And I think just for a team Kentucky was never out of that game. They kind of controlled a lot of that game against Ole Miss, and maybe a lot of people thought Ole Miss would eventually put it into gear, and they never did. But Auburn controlled a lot of that game after the initial touchdown run by Michael Hawkins Jr. on the first drive. They had that one explosive play, and then they were just stagnant on offense for large stretches. And then for them to still find a way to pull out that game, and it's just Auburn is almost finding comical ways to lose to some of these teams that they probably shouldn't have. And I'm not even I'm not meaning that as a disrespect. It's just Arkansas was probably a team they shouldn't have lost to at home. Cal is probably not a team they should have lost to at home. Even Florida State beat Cal. But I mean, it's just Auburn and Hugh Freeze with what he was supposed to be bringing to that team and the wide receivers and everything else. But it's it's almost like he forgot he was supposed to find a quarterback to go with these guys, I guess. And then, you have the stuff going into that game with Bo Wallace on Twitter throwing the shade at Hugh Freeze and how he doesn't care about his players and it's always somebody else's fault and everything else. And those are some games that they should have won. In that Oklahoma game, that would have been a ranked win. That would have been a nice win going into this, rivalry game against Georgia, coming off that loss to Arkansas. And your quarterbacks are still making the same stupid mistakes. That's my most surprising win because Auburn should have won that game. They probably had an 80% chance when he threw that pick 6.
Yeah.
And they screwed it up.
Caveman Rick, you got one? If you want to go to the NFL, you're more than welcome to go to the NFL.
The college ones
the Buccaneers? Was that the most surprising win?
The Buccaneers, man, they can chop off. For college, I don't know, maybe OK State, man. They probably I thought would have maybe won a little bit more in that game. Or they lost that game.
They lost by 22.
Okay.
Yeah,
but you scored more points in that game, maybe. They probably
most surprised and lost.
They should have came out better.
Yeah. Well, and that was, evenly ranked game when you're talking about teams 20 and 23. I was surprised. That's actually a surprising loss to me. I did pick Oklahoma State, but I wouldn't have been surprised either way that the game went. But it was the quarterback for Oklahoma State, can't even think of his name right now, but Bowman?
Bowman, yep.
He had a great game but he was just there's first off, Avery Johnson, like maybe the start of his
maybe kind of
showing himself a little bit. And the Kansas State offense looked pretty lethal in that game. I really like the Dylan Edwards kid, transfer from Colorado, so that was fun. Is that not surprising though? How bad Colorado
beat UCF.
Yeah. No, the Kansas State, that's a surprising margin. But Colorado, and it's been hush mouth from people though, right? Like maybe from the talking pundits, but every time that Colorado loses, that's all you can hear about is like, Dion. Yeah. Then he goes into UCF. UCF was a 13.5-point favorite, 14.5-point favorite going into that game. And
they won by like 3 touchdowns or something like that.
I just saw the score too a couple seconds ago. But yeah, they took care of absolute business in that game, man. And Travis, if you were to have a short list right now, because we've only got 2 minutes till we got to talk some baseball with Sam here, a short list for Tyler's Heisman candidates right now. Give me 2, give me 5, whatever you want to do.
I mean, I think,
or you can go 100 if you got 133 candidates. Right?
I wish I could just rattle it off. Right, it'd be rare. I mean, you got to have was it GD? JD?
Oh, Genty.
Yeah,
Boise State's running back.
The numbers he's put up, and only half of, and he only played one half against an FCS school that they played, like Idaho State or somebody like that. Like 80 plus touches, and he's averaging over 10 yards a carry in 4 games is insane. I think he deserves to be up there. If you want to talk about, Travis Hunter, what he's doing right now. I've never been a big fan of him playing both ways. I think it's detrimental for him in the long run. However, right now he's killing it. And I think what he's doing for a team like Colorado is huge. It'd be interesting to see. We've always heard like teammates kind of break up the vote, and between him and Sanders, I think Hunter gets so much more publicity that he'll get the majority of the votes. Is it enough? And I think you got to put Milroe in there after Saturday night. I mean, to go on biggest stage of the year so far for any school. He was lights out for the first half for sure. And then, the second half, however you want to say, like Alabama pulled the reins in, maybe he lost interest, whatever it is.
Kirby Smart also, we have to give Georgia credit for second half adjustments. I know you're being a good, responsible Georgia fan, but I think we're both doing that with each other. We're both trying too much to be whatever. You're like talking up Bam, and I'm over here like, well, Georgia was good.
But then not only that, but like now your team gets behind and you make a big play to put them back ahead. So like when Bama needed him to make a play, he made a play. And he was by far, I'm not going to say by far because Ryan Williams has something to say about that, but he was the most explosive player on either side of the ball for either team in the biggest stage of the college football season to this point. Yeah. So I think those are my top 3.
So 3. Is Shedeur counted in there? Or
I'm going to say Genty, Hunter, and Milroe. I'm not going to say in any particular order, but those would be my top 3.
How cool would it be for Genty, a team that I got you. We'll get to it. Sam will be patient. How big would that be for a team like Boise State, who honestly, I just said they probably don't have a chance at the college football playoff? Then I slapped myself across the head. That's what I was just about to say. They could be the G5 school. I mean, a team like Boise State, and then you come in with everyone else is so worried about the air game, and Boise State, who's looked good to this point, do they have a loss? Did they play
lost
Oregon?
To Oregon?
Yeah.
It was a very competitive game.
Right.
It was.
So I don't know, man. This could be fun, and I like Genty as the pick. I think that he'll get lost in the sauce
for sure.
But we got to look at those numbers, man. 10 yards a carry
for over 80 carries.
It's one thing if we're talking about 2 or 3 carries, and he's getting some sweeps, and the offensive line is out in front of him. But it's like no, he's running people over. He's east to west. He's north and south. I mean, he's got it all, and he was great last year too.
Yeah.
And Ollie Gordon, that's what another thing that surprised me so much about that Oklahoma State game is, in the first half of that game, Ollie Gordon looked like what he did last year.
Yeah, he had like 70-something yards in the first quarter, I think.
Yeah,
and then it's just completely shut down.
Kansas State just made the first quarter adjustments at that point. But you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and we're gonna finish it up next with Sam Peebles talking all things MLB playoffs.
This just in. Get the latest sports news, scores, and updates from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Follow us on Facebook for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes action, live streams, and the chance to interact with your favorite hosts.
Stay connected. Stay connected. Stay connected.
Join the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Search for ESPN Northwest Florida and crush the follow button.
I follow you on social media.
We're always here to keep you in the game.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the north-northeast, mostly clear skies and 73. Sunshine tomorrow morning, the same at 82. In the afternoon and evening, sunny and a high of 86. About the same at 85 Thursday, and we'll have some sun throughout the day with a small chance of rain showers in the afternoon and evening. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
You want a big-time sports show? Tune in for the Afternoon Underdogs.
We're live and local here.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
We need one more SEC team in there to shake things up.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, also 101.9 in Port St. Joe, the official station for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. And coverage is going to be starting tonight at 6:20 for a 7:30 first pitch this evening. And we've got Sam Peebles. He is the host of the Braves Dugout Podcast. Sam, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. I'm extremely excited that it's playoff baseball time.
Yes, and we have started off with 2 bangers thus far and got another banger going on in Milwaukee. Let's start off with the first one. Tigers-Astros. Tigers get the better of the Stros in week 1, the final being 3-1 there. What do you think of that first game between the Tigers and the Stros?
I'm thinking that, the Astros pitched against arguably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, if not the second best to Chris Sale this year. So, I mean, you can't fault him too much. No one's been able to hit him this entire year. So, I mean, but that being said, I'm a big believer in momentum, and the Tigers have gone on since they were 10 games back in the division. They went on a 31-13 run. So they're arguably the hottest team in Major League Baseball right now. So, I mean, if I was the Astros, of course I'd be a little bit upset, but you're playing one of the hottest teams in baseball against one of the best pitchers we've seen in a very long time. So that's okay, guys. You can get them tomorrow.
Then we go to the Royals and the Orioles, who get the win. Kansas City gets the win 1-0 so far. It's 2-0 road teams on the first day of these wild card playoffs. What do you make of that game and a little bit of a old-fashioned baseball game? But you talk about it all the time. When you get to the Major League Baseball playoffs, it has so much more to do with your pitching than your offense. What was your takeaways from the Royals and the Orioles?
Yeah, definitely, especially in the wild card round when it's only 3 games, and that's really on show. I like to think of like the 2019 Nationals, right? That's a perfect example. They didn't really have that great of a team for the entire season, but they had stellar pitching. And the Royals, their top 2 starting pitchers have been, top 5 SPs for the entire year, and that puts them at an advantage in the wild card round. In the regular season, depth wins you a bunch of games. In the wild card series, top-end starting pitching wins you games. So the Royals, it's not shocking that they beat the Orioles. The Royals have 2 really good starting pitchers up top, and I'm actually shocked that they pulled them out in after the 6th inning with only 80 pitches. That was pretty bizarre. In the regular season, I think, they're saving them
but this is the playoffs, But it worked out, and I'm kind of conflicted because, last year we had 2 wild card teams make it to the World Series, and of course you always want to root for the underdog, but then it also shows how bad the playoff format is for teams that have done really well all year. So I don't know, I'm a bit conflicted, but it's been fun so far.
Yeah, I get that, man. It's fun, but it's also, why are we playing such a long regular season then if it really is not going to matter when it's just about whoever's playing the best at that point in time? But I guess for the most part across the board, I don't think we see that very often in football. I think most of the time you're seeing the best overall team is winning. I think in basketball, your Heat can maybe carry you to maybe the conference finals. You kind of look at the Indiana Pacers last year, but 9 times out of 10, I think we're seeing the best. Let me say 7 times out of 10, you're seeing the better team win. But not taking anything away from the Tigers or the Royals here, but it's just like, you look at it on paper and then you look at it statistically throughout the course of a 162 game season. Obviously, the Astros and the Orioles are better teams, but if you look at the last month and a half, maybe month, you could have something different to say about that. And now we're looking at the Mets, who are on top of the Brewers 3-2. Brewers are threatening right now with runners on first and second, 1 out in the bottom of the 4th. And the Mets, I guess there was some pitching trouble going on because the Mets only have 2 hits going along with those 3 runs. But the Brew Crew, they've got 7 hits. They've been hitting the ball well tonight. Is home field advantage non-existent in Major League Baseball?
I would say depends on what you mean by home field advantage. I would say it absolutely matters in the sense of you get the last at bat.
Okay.
So if it's a close game, then I would say statistically you have the advantage. But I think it's a little bit overrated when it comes to fans and stuff. It's not like football stadiums where you got 90,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs when a quarterback's trying to hear what play to call.
Yeah.
It's not really the same thing. Whereas baseball, you play 162 games a year. So going to someone else, and you play 81 games away from home. So you kind of get used to playing away. So I wouldn't, from that standpoint, I wouldn't really say so. But from just the fact that you get to bat last, which means you can pinch hit in the bottom of the 9th inning if you're down with guys that have been struggling or whatever, I think it gives you a slight advantage, not a huge one though.
Not every field has 8-year-olds calling your mom name though. So there is that though in Philadelphia. So
yeah,
you can't duplicate that.
I think Philly is the exception. I think it's pretty well known that Phillies are pretty ruthless at home.
Yeah, you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We are on the line right now with Sam Peebles. He is the host of the Braves Dugout podcast. Also, he is the latest champion in fantasy baseball, not in our ESPN Northwest Florida League. I believe that ended up being I believe that was Season of the Sticks. If not, it was Dave Neat. But with that being said, he did take me down in the fantasy baseball championship, and well deserved too, because you ran away with the league, and I just kind of made some moves there at the end to try to rival you there, and your team was just a little bit deeper there at the end. It was very close, 8 categories to 7, but congratulations to you, man. I think is that back-to-back or 3 backs?
I think it's back-to-back. It may be 3, but I will say this: it was really interesting because really, in the last day of the regular season, you were up 7-6, but if I got 2 RBI, I would win. That's how close it was.
Yeah.
And it came down to the first game when Francisco Lindor hit that 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th against the Braves. That's what won it for me. So I'm sitting there I don't know am I excited? I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I was feeling, because I almost started just picking up players for the Monday doubleheader and just hoping that they would be playing, so I was going to stick them in because I needed pitching wise. I felt like I had the edge there as far as where we were at that final day, but then I was like, well, I don't want to just change out my whole team for this. That just kind of feels like I'm colluding or whatever. And then the next morning I see you pick up Gio Urshela, and I'm like, well, dadgummit, man, I should have done it. But no, man.
For what it's worth, I looked and it didn't allow me to play him until the following day, which the season was over.
Yeah,
so.
when I saw,
I was like, why hasn't David done this? I'm doing this right now.
What's so funny is the night before, because you have, whenever you're plugging someone into your lineup on the Yahoo, it has to be the night before. And so when I saw that you had picked him up, I was like, well, he can't play him. But now that I know that he was okay with doing that, I should have just texted you and be like, hey, are we good to like just keep on picking up players here? Because I know that the regular season is over now, but technically it's not. But anyways, man, honestly, the way that you just dominated throughout the year like that, obviously it's always well deserved for you, because look at how you talk about baseball. We all know, we all listen to you, we know what you're talking about. And you also have a very big episode coming up this Thursday. So I want to implore all of you who listen to us here at ESPN Northwest Florida, but if you're not tuned into the Braves Dugout podcast, make an effort to, you can do it anytime that you want, but you have a big show coming up, and I'm excited for you, my man.
Yes, and I'll go ahead and say it here. We got ESPN's own Himbo coming on my show on Thursday, so you don't want to miss it. He's a huge analytical nerd just like me.
And he's a Phillies fan.
Conversation. Yes, he is. He is a Phillies fan. Yep, and he was drinking probably coffee or something out of a Phillies mug.
He was drinking water. Water.
No, that's awesome. I didn't want to spoil anything. I was just trying to drive people there. But now that you've said that, I will be talking about that for today's Tuesday. So I'll continue to spread the word on that, at least here on the air, because I'm really excited for you. I mean, the growth that not only you've had, but your podcast and all of your articles and everything. It's been a lot of fun. But let's talk about this. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And each year, right before we get the season started, you always invite me on as a guest, and I'm always appreciative of that. Brewers have taken the lead now. What are you looking for? We can't waste our time talking about the Mets and the Brewers. Braves, Padres tonight, 7:30. We've only got 3 minutes left, so that's why I have to switch gears. What do you think of Snit's decision to go with A.J. Smith-Shawver?
Well, that really was his only choice, if we're being honest. It was either him, Bryce Elder, or Ian Anderson, because Chris Sale is out and he just used his other pitchers just to get here. So that really was his only choice between those three. And if out of those three, I'm going with Smith-Shawver. So, I mean, I get it, and we might see a situation where we got him, and then maybe he only sees the order once or twice, and then they bring in Bryce Elder, because Bryce Elder's issue is once he gets through the order once, that's when he starts struggling. So you might see both him and Elder pitch tonight, because both of them are on the wild card roster. I think the key here, though, is Ozzie Albies. He's still batting second. I know he had that awesome game in Game 1, but other than that, he's been struggling really bad, while the three hitters around him have been doing awesome. So if Ozzie Albies can just come through with a big hit or two, I think that's the key to the win tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Peebles, the voice of reason, because I was sitting up here earlier, I don't know why we're going with A.J. Smith-Shawver, and it's like, well, because you've got one of three options right here, and one option is a little bit better than the others, or at least no one really has any tape on A.J. Smith-Shawver, so there is that, right? He's only got one start.
That's true, and when he pitched last year for his 6 starts, he didn't face any of these hitters either.
Well, there you go, man. So this is why you need to be tuned into the Braves Dugout podcast, ladies and gentlemen, because Sam keeps it real with you. And not only that, if you get befuddled sometimes when you're looking at box scores and you're like, what in the world does this mean? Sam breaks down the analytics for you on basically a weekly basis. And if you can't find it there, then you can just go find it at a myriad of places that he writes his articles. Sam, what do you think? What's your prediction for Game 1 tonight between the Braves and the Padres?
I would say the odds favor the Padres in this one. On paper, the Padres do have the true advantage here, so I'm hoping for a win for the Braves. But if I was to put money on it, I don't think I could put money on the Braves tonight, unfortunately. But I'm definitely going to be rooting for them.
All right, so we're taking betting out of the equation, actually putting money on it. But I just want to get your thoughts here. Would you take the over or the under? And I'm trying to pull it up here on Hard Rock to see what the over is for the Braves. And it's 7.5, which kind of is like the going rate for baseball runs.
I'll take the under. I think I'm going to take the under on that one.
All right, it looks like the only game that's getting close to taking the over or to getting over the total right now is the Brewers and the Mets as they're at 7 points. Sam, thank you so much for your time, my friend, and we'll get you back on plenty throughout the rest of these playoffs.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Go Braves.
Sam Peebles, ladies and gentlemen, go Braves, chop on, and make sure that you're tuned into that Braves Dugout podcast this Thursday. You can, anywhere that you get your podcast, just type in Braves Dugout podcast. It'll come up. I'm telling you, when you've got two analytical minds talking about the game of baseball together, this is going to be a special episode. That's going to do it for us today. Don't forget to keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. Braves start at 6:20 for Caveman Rick, Tyler Bishop. I'm David Hayes. Just remember, Jesus loves you and so do I.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Race to Talladega.
Paul, Richie, are you ready?
I am ready.
You're ready for some racing, some paint swapping.
Oh, yes. You're not rubbing, you're not racing.
You got that right, son. Congratulations.